Hey everyone, it's I Will Collide. I'm going to be doing a video for ranked tier list. I already have it right here. If you want to just look at it, it's going to be on Smite Guru anyways. But we're going to just talk about why I rated which one and which one. We'll start from the bottom all the way to the top. So for D, Kuzumbo can't be played in support. Can only be played in solo, but he has terrible clear anyways. Loki, for the pressure meta, he's completely out of Conquest. There is no point in him being in Conquest anymore. Raijin, horrible kit right now. It's interruptible. It can be played around. Decent clear early, but besides that, it just doesn't offer too much anyways. Alpwash takes up too much mana. Very immobile, and needs an entire team comp around him to keep him safe. Alright, to the C category, Zhong Kui. Zhong Kui has a decent damage output because of his buffs, but he's still an immobile mage. And with the Sunder meta, he's not worth picking up. X-Ball, lane clear is horrible. Most of the game is lane clear based. If he does not have a support that can help him lane clear, which most supports right now, there aren't many supports that go with X-Ball in lane very well. He's not that great. Ao Kuang, one of my favorite characters, but he's C as well, for the basis that he has no clear early. He will lose buffs unless he starts at a buff, and even so, it's still risky. He's just not that great of a gun. Bonkasura, he's cool for cheesy strats, but in the long scape of him, he doesn't offer any pressure in lane. He can evade buffs by himself and guarantee buffs, but that can possibly be his downfall because people can figure out where he's going to rotate to steal a buff. Nike doesn't have that much CC in her kit. Because of the solo lane meta, she's not that great. She can be played in jungle decently, but after that, she's just going to be a body and basically useless. Nuwan's late game is still godly, but it's really hard to pill for her because she's so immobile. And yeah, she can pill for herself, but there's going to be a lot of close calls if they have a dive comp. Alright, that's done with the C tier. B tier, first is going to be Anubis. Anubis, an immobile god that does a lot of damage. He's able to win the lane by himself, but overall he can be punished really badly for how immobile he is, and he has to be out of position to do a lot of his abilities. Bastet, because they nerfed the backdoor protections for deployables, like Bastet Cats, she's kind of like, she does a lot of damage, but she doesn't offer a lot in a team fight. Chiron, easily one of the worst ADCs right now. Damage output is mediocre. He doesn't guarantee a lot of things for the team. If he's played mid, he can do okay, but at the same time, there's just better picks overall in mid. Kronos, I may get some flack for this. He can be played very well in mid, but he doesn't guarantee a lot of pressure in mid, so it's kind of a touch-go situation with that. Late game, he is still a monster, but at the same time, there are still better picks. Freya is another late game god, but she needs so much help in the early game, it's almost detrimental for your entire team to actually help her. She is one of the easiest ADCs if you get to 15 minutes because you already have Fatalis and Demonic Grip online, so you'll be shredding anybody. But overall, it's just the risk and reward. The risk is higher than the reward if you pick the character. Nox is a cool pocket pick for some mids right now. Like, I can see why, but if you can't guarantee the combo, there's not a lot of magical damage in your team comp unless you have a magical jungler or a magical soul laner, even so. But she can be relatively safe, but putting herself out to get the combo is pretty hefty. Okay, Odin. Odin is still one of my favorite characters, but he's B for a reason. He doesn't offer that much in the form of pressure. Now, when it comes to his level 2 to level 3, he's extremely strong. He's able to blow up any squishy. You can play him in solo, in jungle, and in support, but overall he will lose pressure in any lane by himself. And even if he's not there by himself, like he's with an ADC or another mage, there's just still no guarantee of lane clear, especially with how the meta is. Overall, he's just not that good in this meta. Tyr. Reason why Tyr's fallen off for this meta is because, again, pressure. And you have to be in really risky positions to clear the wave with them in the early stages of it, so you have to be extremely passive. Now, he does offer a lot for the team in the mid to late game, but it's just getting him there. If somebody picks Tyr, then you're going to have, I would suggest the jungle start in solo so he can gain a little pressure, so he can get to his level 2 very quickly, and so he can clear the wave by himself. Because when he's able to get to level 3 and fully clear the wave, it's just lights out for him. But overall, he's still B because of just how the rank system is right now. Jing Chen, the reason why I put him at B is because he doesn't offer too much. Yes, he can be a slight bully in the lane, but because of how the auto attack warriors are right now, I would suggest probably getting another warrior for him. Jin Chen and Ymir. Okay. Yeah, Jin Chen's just bad, and then Ymir is very, very immobile. Because of the Sunder meta, he's just a target to Sunder all the time. And because it's usually 2 to 3 Sunders per team most of the time in both ranked games and in competitive, there's just no point to picking him. He's just a target. From there, we're going to go to A-. Agni is A- because he has subpar damage, but he has a lot of control in team fights, which can be very valuable. AMC, because his lane clear is extremely safe and he wins lane by himself. The only reason why he's not higher is because of escapability and the fact that he can just be a ranked cheese god overall. Afro is usually either played in the mid or in solo. You can sometimes see it in jungle because of DJ Pernicus, but usually we'll see it in mid or solo. The healing is still subpar, and the damage is still subpar, but because she is relatively safe with her immunity off of her ultimate, I put her at A-. Apollo has really, really safe lane clear. He's able to box a lot of ADCs right now. He's just not able to box like Chiron or Rama when it gets to that mid games. Chiron for the early game as well. And his ultimate's kind of subpar too because it's not a team fight ultimate. It is a split push ultimate basically. Arachne, her early game is okay. The reason being is that you're able to put your spider webs in the middle of the lane and automatically gain a little bit of pressure, or you can put your spider webs at the side so you can get some decent poke on your mid laner, on the opposite mid laner of course. But because she doesn't guarantee a lot of team fight, there's not much you can do with that. Ares, his lane clear still kind of subpar. He does a lot of damage, and he guarantees beads with his ultimate, or at least another CC immune ultimate. But that's the problem. There's so many CC immune ultimates in the meta gods. There's no point in really playing him that much. So I I just don't see Ares that great in the meta, but he still guarantees a lot of cheese as well in rank. So if he's a pocket pick, go ahead. Chalk is one of the easiest solo laners, and it's really hard to lose lane with him. You're going to get outpushed by an auto attack warrior anyways, but because you have a heal in your kit, if you lose your blue buff, you have your passive to keep you from losing too many creeps into the tower and stuff like that. He's still relatively safe god. Izanabi was a little bit higher in my last tier list in the beginning of the season, but now she's fallen because people have understood how bad her dash is, and it's so interruptible and so counterable it doesn't matter. Overall, really safe lane clear. She gains lane dominance by herself, and that's about it with her. Kumbhakarna, his jungle clear is awful. His lane clear is okay. His mid to late game is probably the best part about him, and I actually like Kumbha a lot, but overall he's just not a decent pick in ranked right now. Neja is a good team fight god overall, especially with the buff for the ring toss, giving an extra ring toss to it. But because he is still immobile, he's able to be punished very easily, and so if you don't coordinate with your mid or you're not duo queued with your mid, there's no point in playing him. Scotty got a few nerfs. One to her ultimate, which basically destroyed her relativity, and that's all she's sung for. Like, honestly, there's nothing else you can do with the god besides split push and win the early game. Besides that, she's kind of niche right now. Sun Wukong got buffs recently to his damage, which in hindsight was good, but because of the auto attack warrior meta, he's still fallen off. He's still strong, but he's not that strong. With those nerfs to Death Toll for the cleaves, I think he'll be coming back a little bit. He may be pushed up to A, but we'll see. Overall, I still see him as A-. Sylvanas, he has great sustain. He's able to pull people out in a worse position. He has a root that destroys protections, and he has a knock-up that does a lot of damage. Problem is that he's immobile in this meta with Sunder, and he gets sundered automatically and he dies. We're going to skip Vamana. I'm going to move Vamana. Zeus does a lot of lane clear. He wins lanes by himself, but if you don't have either a Khepri or a Geb to guarantee some form of peel for him, or another peel god, maybe like Sobek, he's just not that great. Vamana, we're going to put Vamana to A. Alright, A is for Artemis. Artemis has decent lane clear. It's not the best. Late game, she's still a beast. Still a good pick overall, and has a CC immune ultimate with a stun in it, so it's able to pop beads and Aegis as well. Because of the crit meta that's came back, she's more viable, especially with the Rage, with Rage being a very, very cheap item overall. She's been seeing some resurgence, and she's going to find some more resurgence now. Cabrakan's still a strong god, either in the solo, jungle, or in the support. He still doesn't take that much damage. The only problem is that there's just not a lot of things to guarantee that you can initiate unless it's in a corridor. Fenrir is my favorite jungler besides Thor. Finn is a risk reward god. You either jump in and you guarantee a kill, or you jump in and you die. It's still a decision making god. He's still very aggressive, but you need to make the right decisions with him. And that's what a lot of people struggle with. Geb is one of the safest supports, but also you lose lane automatically with having a Geb unless you have a really high clear ADC. Overall, he is mid game to late game is one of the best of any Guardian so far. He can peel very well, he can initiate very well, he does a lot of stuff very well in the mid to late game, but if you're not able to get to that, he's worthless. Hell is a good cheese god. You have healing in your kit, and you have a high amount of damage. What you gonna do about that? Janus, high mobility, high amount of poke damage. There's a lot of outplay potential with Janus as well. You're able to secure objectives with his ultimate. The only problem is that he has decent lane clear, but there's just better picks with better lane clear. And there's not a lot of junglers that pair up well with him. Jingwei found some buffs, and she used to be B. Now she's went up to A for me. She could honestly go to A+ depending on what I see because of the crit builds. Overall, she's in a pretty solid state right now. Callie, the reason why I have Callie at A instead of where I originally had her at B is because her lane clear is actually pretty decent with her 2. And the fact that it's able to touch the entire wave as well. Overall, she's also very safe. If you get to that 12-minute mark, using DJ's DJ Callie build, you should be able to start shredding people very early. Cuckoo Khan's a very safe god. He does a lot of damage, and if you build him correctly, he's able to shred in an entire team fight. Neith just recently got some buffs to her ultimate and to her backflip. She's still in basically the same state that she is in, but she still does a lot more damage and guarantees a longer stun with her ultimate. So she can level her 3 other basic abilities and not level her ult and still do well. You probably end up still leveling the ult for the damage, though. I have to go back on the numbers. Thanatos is a risk reward god because he's so immobile. You either ult up to get a kill or you ult up to get away from dying. That's how it's supposed to go. You can ult up to reinitiate a fight. You can ult up to counter engage a fight. Overall, he's still risk reward. Morgan is a really cool rank god. Overall, she's just still a little clunky. Ullr is a risk reward god as well. And Vamana, the reason why I put Vamana up from A to A+ is because of the death toll nerfs to the cleave autos. He will be able to punish a lot of the auto attackers with his bluestone and his high amount of base damage. Amaterasu, I like Amaterasu right now because she can be played in support and do very well in support. Pair with a high clear ADC or high amount of auto ADC like a Kyranos, a Hou Yi, I would even say Ullr, Medusa, stuff like that. You'll most likely win the lane. The only reason why I don't put her any higher is because she has no pill potential. Next one is Athena. Athena has a global ult, has a high amount of burst damage out of her shield wall, and then you have your taunt that lasts for a very long time, still arguably one of the best CCs in the game. The only problem is that her early pressure is very lackluster, and if you dash in and you taunt, there's nobody to pill for your back line. So overall, she is a decent pick. I still like her. She can be played in the jungle, but preferably don't do that. Overall, she's a pretty cool pick. Bacchus is still one of my favorite guardians because he has a high amount of damage output, but his lane clear is still kind of lackluster in the early game unless you gain a little pressure in the first few seconds, just pressuring up to the wave where your ADC could push the wave a little bit with autos so it can be grouped up a little bit more. You can group the brutes and the archers up a little bit more so your flop hits a few more. But if you don't gain lane pressure, he's still kind of eh. Chang'e used to be S+, right now she's A+, just because of some of the nerfs that she took to her cooldown. That she doesn't guarantee lane pressure. Yes, she's a long range, and if she's played in mid, she's still not gonna get a lot of lane pressure. If she's playing jungle, she gets a little bit more. Overall, there's just better picks in the jungle, but she's still very, very good. Cupid's a niche pick, but as people have saw that there's a lot of success with him in the SPL, people have been playing him more. Overall, he's a decent god with high amount of sustain, has a steroid out of his dash for chase, and as well as 1v1 potential. But there's still better picks in the ADC role than just him. Guan Yu just got nerfs. Some friends of mine call him the murder tank because he gained an extra stack for protection shred, and he has more damage off of his dash. So he can hurt the backline very easily, and he can still heal up the backline if he needs to. Overall, he's a decent pick. He's even played in jungle a little bit, but in solo he'll still suffer in the early game because of how the meta is. Hayba is usually played in the jungle now, but he can be played mid. He's a niche pick as well that does a lot of high damage output. The only problem is if you are very poor with your positioning, you'll be caught out a lot more with Hayba than you would any other jungler, or even mid. Overall, it's still a niche pick. Isis gains lane pressure by herself with her wing gust, but she's so vulnerable most of the time is that she needs pill from others. Khepri has some of the best lane clear in the game, but he can't engage fights. He can peel very well, but he can't engage fights. Mercury's level 2 is one of the best level 2s in the game. Dash into your 1, you'll most likely get a kill off of it, especially if your mid lane follows up. But besides that, he's still kind of a risk reward, but you at least have an engage in your kit and get away. But a lot of his build is very, very, very greedy, and you need to be ahead early so you can keep the greedy build. Poseidon's kind of fallen off because of the Fatalis nerf to the price, so not a lot of people pick him up. You're still going to pick him up sometimes in rank because it's really easy lane clear and it's kind of an AFK god anyways, but I would say he's still one of the stronger mids though. Raw has sustained his kit, safe lane clear, a really good ultimate, and has a blind that can help him peel, and it's also slow. Radtaskar, I would like to put him at S+, but he's right now A+, because of his ultimate isn't guaranteed a lot of CC still, just because of how small it is now. And he still has a lot of chase in his kit, but all those nerfs kind of caught up with him, and people started to notice. For Scylla is okay. She's not that great in the lane push, but if you get her to the mid game or you get her an early kill, she's going to be hurting almost anybody. It doesn't matter if you're tank or you're squishy. You're going to get either 1/3 of your health taken away or half of your health taken away at the early to mid game. And when it comes to late game, most of your health is going to be gone anyways. And she has free poke off the crush because the crush is on a very low cooldown. Sobek is really good for both peel and for displacement. His engage is kind of you're more there for displacement, and then hopefully your jungle can engage or counter engage off of it. His ult is really good at stealing and confirming objectives, and it allows him to stay in lane. He's also a decent soul laner. He stalemates the lane. Soul has found a resurgence into mid. She has a lot of burst damage and a lot of chase potential, and her ultimate still hits a lot of very, very hard. But people still want to play her at ADC, but I would still recommend to play her in mid. Terra for the ranked scene is gonna probably go to S minus, just because she can be an AFK god too. We're gonna go to Thor. Thor has a global ult with a lot of base power and CC. But the problem is that there's some junglers right now that just win lane or just win the entire game off of a low cooldown or just abilities. So he's kind of fallen off of favor in rank. There's still going to be people that play him though. I still like him in rank. You just need to have a mid laner that follows you up in the early game. Thoth is the same way. He needs setup. He can't do things by himself, but when you get him to the mid to late game, he does a lot of damage, and he's able to win a team fight by himself. The same thing goes for Vulcan. His early game still kind of it's a little better than Thoth's, because your one, which is your backfire, is on such a short cooldown anyways, and since people start building book tier 2, he's able to get online a little bit faster, but overall he's still a very immobile god that can be chased down very easily. So we've went from D to A+, now we get to the big meaty ones, is the S- and the S. I don't do S+, of course. S-, Anhur for the basis that he has very decent lane clear, but his 1v1 potential is very high, especially if the person that's playing it is a mechanical player. He's able to outplay a lot of ADCs, especially ADCs in rank, because ADCs in rank love to 1v1 each other, and her can 1v1 with the best of them. Awilix is good for the steamrolling. That's why I have her an S-. There's been plenty of times that people would pick Awilix against me if I jungled with a jump god and not focus on me but focus on the backline and just still win the game off of it, just because that they gained so much pressure or my mid laner was out of position. Awilix just punishes the backline so easily if you're out of position, and most people in rank are really bad at looking at their positioning. So keep an eye out on Awilix. If you need to ban her, if you're afraid of her rather than some other of these top picks. If not, then you're just going to have to learn to deal. And if you're comfortable that you could carry a game with a high pressure jungler, I would get Awilix. Same thing comes to Camazotz. With Camazotz quality of life buffs, he's more viable now. His lane clear is very, very, very decent. He has extremely good poke off his 1 and 2. Overall, he's just a decent character overall for just the steamrolling factor. Erlong Shen, he's an auto attack warrior. He can be played in both jungle and support and in solo. He's usually only played in jungle and solo. I haven't seen him in support lately, just because he's more valuable there. The problem with people that face against Erlong, like maybe a Bell faces against an Erlong or an Osiris, one, Erlong can interrupt the bludgeon, which of course Bell still has the cleave off the bludgeon to sustain, but because of his power steroid and the fact that if he dashes with a Mink, he's able to just chase. So Belle's gonna have to use her disarm unless she used her disarm on the wave. Overall, still a really decent pick, and he can pretty much stay pretty relevant with all the other auto attack warriors. Ganesh is going to get a nerf to his damage towards objectives and camps and minions of sorts, which is fine because he was able to shred down objectives very quickly. But there are plenty combos with him with his ult, and he brings a lot of lane pressure anyways, and he has a decent amount of CC. And the other thing that makes him extremely good is his silence. His silence doesn't just silence people in front of him, but gives his people a protective cone. So think of it as a short-ranged shell that gives protections to your allies. Hades, the reason why I have Hades at S- is because his level 3 is one of the strongest in the game. His lane clear is kind of but if you're able to pair him with a jungle like a Willix or Hunbats or Susanoo, there's just a lot of junglers that go well with Hades. He's able to win the game by himself, and people are not expecting a lot of damage from him now. Like, people are now afraid of how much damage he can do. Hercules is good now because of how they reverted his heal to being an instant heal instead of over time heal, which is very, very good and very unexpected. There's been plenty of times that I was at 70 health and went down to 20 and I got 70% of my health back again. And I just bait out a lot of abilities with the heal, and the fact that you have a lot of CC and you do a lot of damage with your autos, people just aren't expecting it, and you're able to guarantee a lot of relics with him. Take away beads, aegis, and then there's even points of you getting shell off of people just because of how much damage you do because of your base stats. Medusa wins lane in duo. That's about it for her. And she has a team fight ult that does a lot of damage. Nemesis shreds every tank. She's able to get to the back line and kill them very quickly. She has a shield. If you've bait out a lot of CC, you're able to survive past the CC. And you build Sunder on her, and then you ult, and whoever was both sundered and ulted dies immediately. Serket is able to get to the back line by herself. She's able to pressure all lanes because she's so mobile, and she does kind of what the opposite of what Thor does. I wouldn't say the opposite, basically the same thing, is that if she isolates one character and throws it to another one, it makes them spread out from that person, especially if they're about to die. So you're able to pick off more people with her. And the fact that she's able to kill almost any squishy at level 5 to level 12 without any problem is very scary. Susanoo is very easy god to play. You still need know a little bit about auto attack cancels if you want to go the Hydra's Lament route. There's other builds for him, but he still has a lot of base damage, and he gains a lot of pressure in the jungle with it. And the fact that he's very mobile and has a pull on a very short cooldown, with as well as a knock-up out of his ultimate that does a decent amount of damage, he just screams pressure in the jungle. Terra is able to affect the entire map with her ult. The only problem is with her lane pressure, but if you get past the lane pressure, she's more valuable than let's say a Ganesh, in my opinion. Alright, to the S. Auto attack warriors besides Erlong are still going to be pretty much bannable. So Bellona is going to be first. Bell has an ultimate that gives protections and more damage if your people are inside of it. It's a stun. She has an absorb/slow out of her one with her shield bass. With her bludgeon, she does a lot of damage, especially if people are grouped up. And you have a disarm, which allows you to box with ADCs and other auto attack warriors, and you have sustain off of it as well. Overall, her entire kit is amazing and has never not been amazing. It's just she's fallen out of favor a few times, but especially with this current meta, she is absolutely insane. Fafnir. Reason why I put Fafnir up here and still with his nerfs coming in is the fact that his early pressure, especially before the wave comes, you're able to do a lot of damage. And I don't mean just a minimal amount, I mean a lot. If you get a hammer stun on one person, and let's say you either have a Kiranos or an Anher or a Hou or something like that, you're most likely either going to poke them out so hard that they have to give up lane pressure or kill them. That's it. Hunbats. People are going to be a little skeptical about me saying Hunbats. The reason why I say Hunbats is because he is an extremely good god to play, very easy god to play, and if you build him pin, you're still able to shred the backline, and the fact that you're able to get beads off of a 75% 75-second cooldown and then get either 30 to 40% CDR and be able to spam your ult every 50 something seconds is kind of ridiculous. That and you have built-in crit in your passive, so there's a lot of auto attack cancels, you're very mobile, and you have a slam that's a cone ability that can hit anybody that's in front of you. Osiris is still strong because of his mitigation tools off of his passive. He's a lane bully, he wins lane by himself unless paired against a Bell, and sometimes Erlong. Overall, he's still an extremely big bully god, and that's how the meta is right now. Bully, 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 bully. Rama's an S, not just because of his early game, but his late game potential. His late game potential, especially with the crit builds now, he does a lot of damage very quickly. When he pops his steroid, he's going to get at least one crit in the first second. And the fact that he's able to 1v1 somebody very well and bait out a lot of ults and bait out a lot of relics, he just wins fights. Hui, with again the crit meta, he does very well. His Mark of the Crow is still pretty significant, and his ultimate is a teamfight ultimate that can also help shred down objectives. We're going to the last two, Ravana. Ravana is really good in the jungle and in solo. The jungle more specifically is because he gains pressure by himself, and the fact that you can put his first relic as Sunder and get away with it. You're able to kill if the mid and jungle are pushed up way too far, and at level 1 you automatically kill somebody. Guarantee you automatically kill somebody. The last one, Kiranos. Kiranos is still good for the basis that he has a high damaging ultimate that's also a silence and a transform with a disarm. You have a root. You have a dash that's able to go through people, and also it's cancelable. It can be canceled halfway through or anytime you want. And you have a steroid that is on a 0-second cooldown for 4 types of steroids, either for passive lifesteal, protection shred, extra damage, or a slow. He's able to 1v1 any god he wants. And especially with the new crit meta, he is more potent, and he has more sustain out of any ADC because of his steroid. Overall, that is my list. Go ahead and comment about it. Like the video if you liked it. Unlike it if you don't. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to be doing more of these videos anyways. So, y'all take care. And be safe. See ya.